Hey guys, what's up? It's iFlynn here, and today I wanted to talk about how you can make your melee weapon deal the insane red crits that you see me dealing on stream, because I get asked this question so many times. Hey Flynn, what melee weapon are you using? Hey Flynn, I have got the same melee weapon as you and I can't do the same red crit crazy slide stuff that you do. People just don't understand how Maiming Strike and, Riven mods that have the slide crit chance, how that works. So just to, sum it up very fast for you guys, the bonus on that is actually additive, right? So it's not like every other mod in the game where, like, let's say you put on True Steel onto your melee weapon. That's going to take a percentage of your base crit chance and then add that on top. It's going to give you plus 90 flat critical chance, right? So if you have a melee weapon that has 5 critical chance, then you do a slide attack with it, you're going to have 95% critical chance on that slide attack. And then you also have the mod Blood Rush, which is going to scale up with your combo counter, giving you 165% off your critical chances, and then adding that on top. That's going to take that 95 instead of the base 5, and then add that on top instead. So 165% off that 95%, add it on top, which is then going to scale with your combo multiplier. So you're using something like Body Count, Drifting Contact to make it so you have that big combo counter, right? Which is increasing your damage, of course. And then every single time that you go up 100% crit chance, or you go over 100% crit chance, you get a higher crit multiplier. And you can also do other things to increase the amount of damage your red crits deal even further, like your stealth bonus, right? So if you're playing Octavia or something, or maybe you're using 2x Arcane Strike on a Vault so to increase your attack speed, and all those types of things you can do to increase your overall DPS and damage off your spin to win melee weapon. So that goes for pretty much any melee weapon you throw Maiming Strike or a Riven with that slide crit stat on. But I wanted to show you guys how to make a Zaw, which is going to do well within that slide crit category. Now, keep in mind that everything that I just told you, how that additive crit chance and everything works, that is subject to change whenever Melee 3.0 comes around, right? So if you're watching this video and Melee 3.0, not Melee 2.9, which is what we currently have, Melee 3.0 comes around, this could be completely gone, and this meta could be completely changed. I, for one, predict that we're going to have like some sort of condition overload meta where maybe people run range on condition overload weapons or something like that, like a heavy blade Docrim or something. But I'll make videos on that whenever that meta does come around, if it comes around, if Spin the Wind gets abolished. We don't know what's going to happen. Nobody knows at all. So let's go ahead and talk to our boy Hawk over here. So I'm going to show you guys a crit buff variant, and I'm going to show you guys a Miwan variant, right? So if we go ahead and we go to Forza Zaw, so you can choose either the Play Crit Buff Strike or you can choose the Miwan Strike. Let's go ahead and choose the Miwan just because, we'll be more general, because more players are going to have access to Miwan than they are going to have access to Crit Buff. Crit Buff only comes around whenever the Plague Star event comes around. You can buy it by taking part in that event, and then from the other vendor, which is just a little bit behind me, you'll notice whenever the event does come around that one of the vendors sells bonus stuff, okay? But Crit Buff adds on viral damage, which just overall means that it deals more damage than the Miwan, which is making it a lot better. For our grip, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use Stung. So that's down here in the bottom left-hand corner. And then for our link, it's important that you use Aquana Jai 2. Now, I'll show you guys the difference between Aquana Jai 2 and Aquana 2 Jai, and you can make up your mind on which one you want to use. Aquana 2 Jai would be future-proofing for making a condition overload build on this type of Zaw, where Aquana Jai 2 is just full-on, let's go crit, right? So with this one, we have 14% critical chance, 2x crit multi. We've got 50 slash damage. We got 43.8 puncture, and then we got 31.3 impact. We go ahead and we swap out to the crit buff. You can see, let back out here, we got 18% critical chance, 2.2 times or 2.2 times crit multi. We got 24 slash, 34 puncture, 19 impact, and then 29 viral. So that's just overall more damage on this, which means whenever we do crit, we're just going to do a higher number because we just have overall more damage, right? So if we take a look at our critical chance stat on this particular Zaw, we've got 18% critical chance. If we swap this to Aquana 2 Jai, also pay attention to the status. We got 25 here. If we swap this to Aquana 2 Jai, if my really bad eyes could see that, I'm very, very blind. Aquana 2 Jai, there it is. We've got 14% critical chance, and we got 32% status chance. So we went from 18 to 14, but our status chance went up from whatever we were at in the status category up to 32%. So really, whenever it comes to your link, I recommend choosing between Aquana 2 Jai or Aquana Jai 2. So Aquana Jai 2 is for your crit, And then a Quanta 2 Jai is for your crit condition overload hybrid. This is the one that I use. This is my exact saw called I'm Top Damage, which you see me using on stream. And the reason I'm using this is because it's got that 0.9 attack speed, so it's just a little bit higher. And then, of course, I have the choice on whether or not I want to use, you know, my condition overload or my spin the wind, because both work on either of these, right? It's just your crit condition overload hybrid. You're going to proc those status effects a little bit more consistently with this build opposed to the other one, right? So the Aquana Jai 2 is just going to be overall more crit. This one's more status. That's basically all it is. So let's go ahead and back out, and we'll talk a little bit more about the actual build itself, right? Because that's something that not a lot of players understand. How to actually build a spin to win melee weapon. Like, what things should I be considering, right? So let's just go ahead and go down to my I'm Top Damage. There we go. I already have it equipped. Go to upgrade. And this here is the build that I'm using at this point in time. But let's go ahead and make a completely different one. That's condition overload build. I suppose I can just get rid of this. All right. So here we are, completely blank. Go back in. Your stance doesn't matter too much. Just use a stance, which is personal preference, right? Whatever you think is better, whatever tickles your pickle. So what we want to consider first is upping our damage, right? So prime pressure point and organ shatter, because we're going to be building for crit. So this is increasing your overall damage. This is increasing your critical damage, right? Moving on, we need to increase our critical chance. So we throw on Blood Rush and we throw on our Maiming Strike. Okay, so this is going to increase your critical chance. That's whatever. It takes 14% plus the Maiming Strike. So 90 plus 14. And then it takes 165% of that number and then adds that on top, right? So that's going to be your total critical chance on a slide attack, your base critical chance plus Maiming Strike. So that's 90. 14 plus 90, then 165% of whatever that makes is your critical chance on slide. Okay? We got to make sure that we keep our combo multiplier up because we want to get as high of a crit chance as possible, and Blood Rush scales with our combo multiplier, right? So we would use the likes of either Drift and Contact, right? Which is going to give us more status chance, which is good if you're running the likes of, let's say, Corrosive, for example, because then you can strip away enemy armor, right? So just deal more overall damage that way. But the thing is, if you don't have a Riven that has some sort of element, chances are you're not going to be running an elemental combo on this build, and I'll explain why whenever we complete the build, right? So throw on either Drifting Contact or Body Count. If you're going to full crit, I'd recommend Body Count because you want to keep that multiplier as high as possible, right? So throw on Body Count, and then we throw on our Berserker. Okay, so Berserker is your melee attack speed, which is going to go up to 75% bonus because of your critical chance, right? And then we move on to our Primed Reach because we want to, you know, kill as many bad guys as possible. This is like a mob hack and slash type of build. So Prime Reach on there because polearms naturally have a lot of range. So having this on is just going to increase that range even further. And then we want to throw on an element because elements just give us bonus damage, right? So Prime Fever Strike. And this would be your standard spin to win build. Now, whenever it comes to a Riven, Rivens is what's going to make the difference between a good spin to win build and an insane spin to win build, right? So if we take a look at my Riven, I've got range, electricity, and then the Maiming Strike stat, which is critical hit chance for slide attack. So that, again, is additive, just like Maiming Strike, right? So that's going to be your base critical chance plus 90 plus 81.4, and then Blood Rush is going to take that number and then add that on top. So it's 165% of your base Maiming plus your Riven, take the percentage, add it on top, right? So absolutely insane critical chance numbers from the get-go. Blood Rush is just going to make that scale even higher, and every 100% critical chance that you go up, you're going to be increasing like your critical damage multiplier, right? If that makes any sense. So keeping your combo as high as possible, very, very important for your damage output. And then again, you can do things like using stealth. Octavia going invisible with her free to get the stealth bonus is going to increase your damage even more. You can use Arcane Strike to increase your DPS because you're going to be attacking more. Things like Volt Speed, etc. It's all going to increase your damage. You can even use I forget what the other arcane is called. I think it's Arcane Fury, which increases critical damage on melee. I don't know, but whenever it comes to your Riven, you want to be replacing a mod that is already on this build. I like replacing Reach because I don't necessarily need the range, but the range is just a nice quality of life thing to have on there, right? So I've got range on my Riven, not necessarily a stat that I'm too interested in. I prefer the damage. So whenever it does come to a Riven, you 110%, if you're going for your spin to win slide crit build, you want to have that critical chance on slide attack stat, and just get it because it's going to aid your damage so much. Melee damage is always a good stat. Elemental damage, critical damage. Critical chance is negligible because you already have the insane additive bonuses from Maiming Strike and the critical chance on slide attack on the Riven, right? So you don't necessarily need critical chance. It's not toss it away if you have it, but you could definitely get better stats than that critical chance stat, right? So critical damage, melee damage, elemental damage, range, and critical chance on slide attack would be what you're going for on a Riven. And then whenever it comes to the negative, because if you have a negative on your Riven, it's going to make your positive stats a lot higher. Minus finisher damage, minus damage to infested. That's realistically what you're looking for. I wouldn't take minus attack speed. I wouldn't take minus damage in any way, shape, or form. Like no minus slash, no minus puncture, no minus impact. Minus corpus isn't too bad, or minus damage to corpus isn't too bad unless you're planning on using it in index. Then it's kind of a problem. What are the other things I'm missing? Maybe if you're using the Aquana Jai 2 link instead of the Aquana 2 Jai, minus status chance, minus status duration are also fine negatives if you're just going straight up spin to win crit. But if you're planning on using it in a crit condition overload hybrid build, you want to avoid those negative status chance and status duration, right? So that is really it whenever it comes to making a really, really good spin to win weapon. Positive melee damage, critical chance on slide attack, elemental, critical damage are the positive stats you want to be looking for. Attack speed is good too, but again, it's not a make or break. You're going to be one-shotting things either way if you have really high melee damage stats and whatnot. So what I would focus on is the melee damage on the Riven plus the critical chance on slide attack, and then elements are always good. But like I said, you're looking to replace a mod on this build, and I would recommend replacing Prime Reach. You don't necessarily need Prime Reach, but, you know, it's really down to you. Having Prime Reach on there just makes it so you can rip free a lot more enemies in a shorter a lot of time. So this is the build that you would use on pretty much any spin to win crit melee weapon, right? So you could take this build and you can use this on the Atarax. If you have a Riven for the Skoliak, which gives it more slide crit and range and whatnot, you could use this, again, replacing Prime Reach with that Skoliak Riven. Use this exact build. So yeah, that is pretty much it, like I said. And I've got this Arcane slot over here. This isn't really necessary. I just run my Exodia Epidemic. I haven't invested too much into these Exodia Arcanes yet. So there's that. But yeah, hopefully you learned a little bit about how spin to win works and all that jazz. You take that build, use it in the Guandao, any polearm, anything you want, really. Like, you can use that exact build on the likes of a hammer and take it into a Daro with Equinox, put enemies to sleep, right? And then spin the win with the hammer to level it up faster than it would in the likes of Hydron or something. You know, that's just something that I do. So you can take that build, throw it on any melee weapon, and then slide attacks are going to one-hit all over the show, implying you keep your combo counter up. You can make your combo counters last a little bit longer using Narmon, and Narmon's kind of important if you're doing that Adara run, by the way, because Affinity Spike, that's really, really important as well. But yeah, that's it. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you want to see more Warframe content like this, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.